So let's talk business pitch. Compared to your personal pitch, your business pitch is longer, highly specific, and externally focused. Now, in the personal pitch, all of the information that you presented was completely at your discretion. But in the business pitch, there's specific pieces of content that your investors are looking for. Remember throughout this entire process that your purpose here is to drive action from investors. So everything you present must be contextually relevant to them. In this case, that means how will you drive value for them if they meet your call to action? So now you have a pitch opportunity lined up and you're ready to start putting it together. The first thing you need to do is follow Guy Kawasaki's 10-20-30 rule, meaning no more than 10 slides, no longer than 20 minutes, and no font points smaller than 30 points. So let's go through each of these sections in turn. When you're looking at building your slide list, there are 10 major slides that every business pitch should include. Your title slide, your problem statement, your solution value proposition, your competitive analysis, your competitive advantage, your business model, your go-to-market plan, your team, your call to action, in this case, your ask, and then projections and milestones. You'll note in this that I included no specific slide for the roadmap, but the roadmap still plays a very, very important role here. So my suggestion would be to put it in between your solution value proposition and your competitive analysis. This serves the role of transitioning from introductory information down to running through the major points of the deeper dive into the slides that will follow. Next, let's look at your timings. So what you want to target in a business pitch is somewhere just under the range of the 20-minute margin. The reason you're targeting for less than this is twofold. One, you need to leave time for setup, and you need to leave time to troubleshoot any technological issues that might arise during that setup. Two, and more importantly, you need to leave time for Q&A at the end. To some schools of thought, Q&A is even more important than the pitch itself because this is your opportunity to establish a rapport with your investors. Moreover, this is an opportunity to take a deeper dive into what they actually want to know about your product or service. It's an opportunity for you to showcase your knowledge of the industry, your knowledge of your product or service, and your knowledge of where they fit into the market as it stands. Lastly, let's look at slide design. Now here there's a few things that we need to take into account. Anytime you put something written in front of another person, they're going to start reading it. It's automatic, it's reactionary. Now, in a presentation environment, this is not to our advantage because time our audience spends reading is time they're not spending listening, and we should always be the primary source of information. Our slides are complementary. They're there to add an extra bit of flair to our presentation, not to replace or script our presentation. So we need to make sure that our audience can look at them and absorb them quickly and easily before returning to us, the speaker. By targeting font sizes at 30 points or greater, we ensure that we're able to stick to short bullet points at an easy-to-read level that our audience can consume and then return to us. In fact, as much as possible, try to stick to images and diagrams more than text-based slides because these are not only more visually appealing, they're more easily digestible. Now, in terms of delivering the presentation with the slides themselves, as a trick of the trade, try to stand to the right of your slides, the left from your audience's perspective. The reason for this is that in North America, we take in information from top left to bottom right. By positioning ourselves to the left of our slides from our audience's perspective, we give them an opportunity to start with us as the leftmost source of content and then move on to the right, like reading a book. Then you want to take a bit of a step forward. When we consume content, we consume the content that is closest to us and then we move to content that is farther away. By positioning ourselves closer to our audience, we set ourselves up as the initial source of content that our audience are going to interact with before they move on to our slide deck. Remember throughout this entire process that you want to keep your pitch as storied as possible. The story has massive staying power and it is by far the most effective form of presentation. So take your audience, take your investors on a journey from where you started, where you were, all the way to where you will be, and highlight throughout this story the value that they will accrue if they meet your call to action.